You know that feeling, that deep, heavy weight when it feels like you are absolutely drowning? Like the whole world is on your shoulders, the pressure is just immense, and you can't breathe.
Yeah, it's visceral.
And in that crushing moment, one thought just flashes through, crystal clear. I cannot do this alone.
Why, it's such a powerful, almost primal feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Overwhelm. It's a moment of real vulnerability.
Right.
And the essential truth is you absolutely don't have to face those moments alone. But this is the big but.
Right.
For so many of us, just acknowledging that need, giving voice to it, actually reaching out for help, it feels incredibly difficult.
Almost impossible sometimes.
Yeah, nearly impossible seems right.
Exactly. And we're all navigating this world where, let's be honest, stress levels feel constantly high.
Right. They really do. It feels relentless sometimes.
The demands on our time, our mental energy, our emotional reserves, they just seem to pile up day after day.
There's this sense of overload, like we're constantly juggling way too many things.
And yet, the very thing that could genuinely help take some of that massive burden off, connecting with others, asking for support, receiving it, that often feels like the hardest step.
It's a fascinating and, deeply human paradox, isn't it?
It really is.
The need for connection, for support. It's maybe greater than ever, with modern life and everything we've been through recently.
Definitely.
But at the same time, those barriers, the internal ones, the external ones, they just seem stubbornly high.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've gathered and processed quite a stack of sources for you. We've got insightful articles, from places like Psychology Today, very well mined.
Good stuff. Looking at the benefits of social support, which are well documented, but also really dissecting those hidden barriers that stop us asking for it.
Exactly. And we looked at the hard data too, the scale and scope of community mental health services, trying to understand the formal systems that are out there to help.
Which is important context.
But maybe the most powerful thing, we immersed ourselves in this really candid online discussion forum, people just sharing their raw, unvarnished experiences, what it's like coping when you feel you have absolutely no one.
Wow. Yeah, those firsthand accounts can be incredibly insightful.
So our mission today is to take all of this material, unpack it together, really try to understand why asking for support feels so hard, why connection isn't just, helpful, but actually vital for surviving and thriving, and most importantly, how you can actively start to build and nurture and actually use the support system that, honestly, everyone deserves.
Okay, let's really get into this, starting with the stark reality of the current landscape, because that weight we're all carrying, it isn't just a feeling, is it?
No, not at all. The data, the observations from the sources, they back this up completely. Our mental well-being, on a population level, is under serious strain.
That's right. Research done during really high stress periods, remember the early months of the pandemic?
Oh, yeah.
It painted such a clear picture. Studies showed this dramatic increase in symptoms of anxiety, depression, right across the board.
And one finding that really jumped out at me during one of those peak stress times, a staggering 40% of U.S. adults said they were struggling, either with their mental health or with substance abuse. 40%.
40%. Just let that sink in.
It's huge.
It's nearly half the adult population grappling with pretty significant challenges. It says so much about the pressure cooker environment many people were in, and arguably many still are.
Absolutely.
And the connection the sources highlight is just undeniable. Higher stress levels directly, powerfully correlate with needing more self-care, healthy coping skills, and crucially, external support from other people.
Right, because when your own internal resources are just depleted by that constant stress, trying to just, white knuckle it alone.
It gets exponentially harder, and often it's just not sustainable.
So the picture's clear. The need for support is pervasive, it's widespread, millions feel it deeply, and yet there's this hesitation, this real struggle to actually seek the help, even when you feel like you're drowning.
Which brings us right up against what you call the wall. Why does asking feel so incredibly daunting, so blocked?
A wall, yeah.
It's a great metaphor because it really implies something solid, something hard to get over or around. And the sources, they detail multiple interconnected psychological barriers that build that wall up. It's usually not just one thing holding you back.
No, it's
often this tangle of fears and beliefs.
I mean, digging into that online discussion source we looked at, the honesty was just Wow. People sharing such vulnerable stuff about why they didn't reach out.
Yeah.
But feeling of being a burden, that came up again and again. This really deep-seated idea that your problems aren't important enough or that you'll just exhaust or annoy the people you care about if you actually tell them what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. That fear of imposing is so potent. It's that little voice inside, right? Whispering, everyone else is busy, they've got their own stuff, I shouldn't bother them with my problem.
Exactly.
And that's often tied to not feeling deep down that you actually deserve help or support.
Yeah.
Like this subtle, or maybe not so subtle, sense of low self-worth that tells you you're just not worthy of someone else's time or energy or emotional bandwidth.
And right alongside that is the fear of outright rejection. That one's just visceral, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what if you finally scrape together every ounce of courage you have, you make yourself incredibly vulnerable, admitting you're struggling, you ask for help, and the person just says no?
Or worse.
Or worse, they dismiss how you feel, tell you you're overreacting, or imply you just need to cheer up or look on the bright side.
Yeah. That sting of rejection, especially when you're already hurting, it can be incredibly painful. And it just reinforces that decision to keep it all locked inside next time.
Totally. It makes you think, never again.
And shame and embarrassment. Huge bricks in that wall. There's this powerful, often unspoken societal script, right? Especially in cultures that really prize that sort of rugged individualism. It suggests needing help is a sign of weakness, a personal failing. So admitting you're struggling can feel like admitting you're not capable, not strong enough. And that can feel deeply embarrassing.
It feeds right into another barrier the sources mentioned, the belief that your problems aren't as bad as what other people are dealing with.
The comparison trap. Yeah.
Totally. You look around, you see friends or family dealing with what look like huge challenges, serious illness, job loss, a messy breakup, and you just minimize your own pain. You think, my anxiety about work is nothing compared to that.
Right. But pain isn't a competition, is it?
No.
And needing support is valid, no matter how it stacks up against someone else's struggles. Minimizing your own experience just keeps you stuck in silence.
And this idea that you should be able to handle problems alone,
No.
where does that even come from?
Well, it's often deeply ingrained, isn't it? From childhood, maybe, or cultural messages, the myth of the self-made person, the idea that real strength means total independence.
Right.
But the sources point out that belief is often pretty irrational. It's not based in the reality of how humans actually are. We're fundamentally social creatures. We're wired for connection, for mutual support.
So believing you should handle everything alone is actually working against our nature.
Exactly. It stops you from accessing the very thing that could help.
And then there's that exhaustion of, what was it? Learned helplessness. Hopelessness.
Yeah. If you tried to get help before and got shot down, or maybe if you just feel so overwhelmed that you're convinced nothing's going to change anyway, or there's no hope for your situation.
I bother asking.
Exactly. Why expend the energy? You feel defeated before you even start.
So these internal barriers, the lack of trust, the fear, the shame, these beliefs about self-reliance, they are incredibly powerful.
They often operate just below our conscious awareness, shaping how we act without us even fully realizing why we hesitate.
Yeah.
But what's really fascinating, and this offers a little glimmer of hope from the research we looked at, is the finding that people often dramatically underestimate how willing others actually are to help.
Wait, say that again? Underestimate?
Yeah, significantly, by as much as 50%, according to one study.
50%. So hold on. All those times I convinced myself someone would say no, or they'd be annoyed if I asked for something, whether it's help with a task, or just someone to listen, or even a small favor, I was probably wrong.
That's what the research strongly suggests.
They were likely twice as willing to help as I imagined.
That's the implication, yes. Our own internal fears, especially that fear of rejection and the belief we're a burden, they cause us to project this reluctance onto others that just isn't there to the degree we think it is.
Wow.
We build up the wall in our own minds, assuming people are unwilling or unable to help, when actually many people are quite open to it.
Think back to that online discussion again. While some people definitely shared painful stories of being let down, you're right, a lot of others were lamenting, not asking, assuming the worst. And only later realizing someone probably would have helped if they'd just known how to ask or if they'd just tried.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Totally. You assume they won't help, so you don't ask, and then you never find out they might have.
And those painful past experiences you mentioned, the ones shared in the forum where people did reach out and got negativity told they were fine or needed to look on the bright side or just dismissed.
Yeah, those really stick with you.
They absolutely do. They solidify that fear, make it even harder to challenge the assumption that others won't help next time. It makes total sense why someone would hesitate to try again after being burned like that.
So overcoming these really deep-seated barriers, it takes conscious effort, doesn't it? A willingness to actually challenge those negative thought patterns.
It really does. And one source suggested a practical first step could be actively reframing those negative thoughts.
How so?
Well, instead of dwelling on "I'm such a burden," try shifting your perspective. Ask yourself, okay, if someone I really cared about was asking me for help in this situation, would I be willing to listen? Would I help them?
Oh, okay. Flipping it around.
Exactly. And usually the answer is yes, you would. So that simple shift can create just a tiny crack in the wall. It reminds you that empathy exists, that willingness to support exists, and that you're just as deserving of receiving it as others are.
That reframing idea is powerful. It kind of leverages your own empathy for others and turns it back towards yourself.
Precisely.
You acknowledge the negative thought, but you actively counter it with something more realistic, more compassionate, even if it feels a bit weird at first.
It's recognizing that irrational belief for what it is and choosing consciously to believe something healthier.
It's a practice, though, right? Not a one-time fix.
Oh, absolutely. It takes repetition. But let's shift gears a bit now. We've talked about why asking is hard. Let's talk about the profound necessity of connection. Beyond just getting through a tough patch, what's the real value of social support and integration?
Yeah.
Why put in the effort to build this system?
This is where the science just gets undeniable, isn't it? The sources make it incredibly clear. The positive impact of social support, social integration on both our psychological and physical health is just profound, fundamental.
It really is. It's not just a nice to have. It's not fluff.
No.
It's a critical foundation for well-being.
Yeah.
Strong social support doesn't just make us feel better emotionally, though it does that too. It has real, tangible, measurable impacts on our physical health.
Like what kind of impacts?
Well, it can significantly reduce the risk of serious health problems across the board. We're talking about things like decreasing the odds of alcohol use disorders, lowering the risk of cardiovascular disease,
Wow.
significantly impacting rates of depression, and tragically, even reducing the risk of suicide.
So the risk of major health issues, mental and physical, can be actively reduced just by having meaningful connections with people. That's a powerful reason to start chipping away at the wall.
It absolutely is. There was one study highlighted in the sources. It tracked middle-aged men over 7 years.
Okay.
And the finding was striking. The men who had strong social and emotional support networks were significantly less likely to die during that 7-year period compared to the guys who lacked those crucial relationships.
Less likely to die. That's pretty stark.
It is. That study, and others like it, they really underscore that social connection isn't just about feeling good. It's a fundamental factor in longevity and overall health. As someone in that online forum put it, pretty bluntly, sometimes it feels like social connection is literally life or death when you're struggling alone.
Yeah, I can see that. And you mentioned social integration, too, distinguishing it a bit from just having support. Can you unpack that difference?
Yeah, so social integration is maybe a bit broader than just having a few close confidants. It's about active participation in various social relationships and groups, feeling involved, feeling connected across different parts of your life.
So not just one or two people, but feeling part of different circles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fostering intimacy, sure, but also just that sense of belonging within these various groups, whether it's romantic partners, close friends, family ties, connections at work, or community groups around hobbies, faith, shared interests, whatever it might be. It's feeling like you're part of a larger fabric, not just isolated on an island somewhere.
Okay, so being actively involved, feeling like you belong in different spheres, and you mentioned group influence can be like a double-edged sword.
Precisely. We all know groups can exert negative peer pressure, right? Pushing people towards unhealthy habits, risky behaviors, substance use.
Sure.
But they can also provide incredibly powerful positive group pressure and support. Think about groups focused on health goals like quitting smoking or weight loss programs, running clubs, that sort of thing.
Right, like accountability buddies.
Exactly. Being part of a community where others are chasing similar healthy goals, where you have that accountability and encouragement, it can make achieving those things exponentially more likely than just trying to muscle through it alone.
So social relationships aren't just a shoulder to cry on. They can actually motivate us towards growth and reaching our goals.
That's a huge part of it. When you're pursuing something challenging, training for a marathon, learning a new skill, Overcoming a personal hurdle, connecting with others who are facing similar things, provides vital motivation.
How so?
Well, sharing your progress, talking about setbacks, getting empathy, receiving encouragement from people who genuinely get what you're going through. It can completely transform a daunting, isolating task into a shared journey.
It really does come back to that fundamental truth, doesn't it? That quote, I think it's Helen Keller, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much.
It's simple, almost cliche maybe, but it just embodies that profound reality of human interdependence. We weren't built to navigate everything, the challenges, the sorrows, the joys, in total isolation. Our strength, our resilience, our capacity for joy. It's all amplified through connection.
And just recognizing that interdependence, that it's okay, that it's good, that feels like a crucial step in taking down the wall and embracing the need for a support system.
Absolutely. Seeing it not as a weakness, but as a fundamental human need and actually a source of real strength.
Okay, so recognizing the need is step one. But how do we actually build this vital safety net, especially if you feel like you're starting from zero, or maybe your existing network feels thin, unreliable, or even damaging?
Yeah, that's the big question. The sources offer a really helpful analogy here. Think about cultivating your support network like you'd tend to a garden.
Okay, I like that. A garden.
It's not a one-time project, right? It's an ongoing process. It needs conscious effort, conscious care. You need to look at your current network who's genuinely supportive, who's actually draining your energy.
Right, assessing the current plot.
Exactly. Then you need to actively plant seeds for new connections, new relationships. You need to nurture and water the healthy ones you already have, help them grow stronger.
And sometimes?
Weeding. And yes, absolutely. Sometimes tending a garden means you have to weed out the toxic relationships, the ones that are actively harming you or just aren't beneficial anymore for your well-being. That can be hard, but it's necessary for the healthy plants to thrive.
I love that analogy because it really emphasizes patience and persistence. It's not about having this perfect, huge garden overnight.
Not at all.
It's about starting small, tending carefully, letting things grow over time.
Precisely. It's active, it's dynamic. And a really critical part of this tending is understanding that support isn't just one thing. People need different types of support at different times for different issues.
It's not all deep emotional talks.
No way. You might need emotional support. Yes, someone to listen, validate your feelings, but you might also need community connection, just that sense of belonging, or spiritual support, finding meaning, connecting with faith, maybe financial help in a crisis, or practical help with tasks, moving house, child care, someone bringing over a meal when you're sick.
Or just simple friendship, right? Companionship, someone to watch a movie with or go for a walk.
Exactly. And the sources really stress this. You need to ask for the type of support you need from someone who is actually capable of providing it.
This is the bakery and steak analogy, isn't it?
It is. And it's such a good one.
Yeah.
You wouldn't walk into a bakery and demand a T-bone steak, right?
No, probably not.
You'd be asking for something they just can't give you. It leads to frustration for everyone. In the same way, you probably wouldn't ask a casual work acquaintance for deep emotional validation about a really complex family problem.
Or expect someone who's struggling financially themselves to lend you a large sum of money.
Exactly. You need to think. Who in my existing network might be able to offer this specific thing I need right now? Or sometimes, where do I need to look outside my immediate circle? Maybe to formal resources to find it.
So where do you even start looking to plant those new seeds? That online discussion thread was gold for this, wasn't it? So many practical ideas, real examples of where people actually found community.
Yes, that thread was a treasure trove of lived experience. People found community in hobby groups, classes, workshops. Think about it. If you have an interest, crafting, hiking, playing music, learning a language, chances are there are groups already formed around it.
And joining one puts you in contact with people who already share something with you. A natural starting point.
Exactly. Volunteering came up a lot too. Makes sense, right? It connects you with people motivated by a shared purpose, working towards a common goal.
Yeah, that shared purpose is powerful.
Similarly, religious or faith communities, churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, while obviously centered on spiritual belief, often provide this incredible sense of community, belonging, mutual support that goes way beyond just the religious practice itself.
And online communities too, right? They were mentioned as being really valuable.
Definitely. Especially for people with really niche interests or maybe dealing with specific challenges where it's hard to find local support. Specific forums, social media groups, platforms built around a shared issue or passion, they can be a real lifeline.
I saw someone mention even local Buy Nothing groups on Facebook, creating these little micro communities of neighbors just interacting and helping each other out.
Yeah, simple stuff sometimes. And of course, formal and informal support groups are specifically designed for this, connecting people facing similar things, whether it's a health condition, grief, addiction recovery, being a new parent.
Those groups offer that safe space to share and feel really understood.
Other places people mentioned, workplaces, though navigating those relationships needs care. Shared activities like gym classes, martial arts, crafting circles. The key seems to be putting yourself in environments where you have repeated, low-pressure chances to interact with potential connections.
And one point from that discussion really struck me as poignant. The idea of creating a family of choice.
Ah, yes. So important.
If your biological family isn't available or supportive or maybe even harmful, actively building those close, meaningful relationships with friends who become your chosen family is not just valuable, it's often essential for well-being.
Absolutely. And even simpler interactions were highlighted, making an effort to just chat with neighbors or finding really profound companionship and unconditional support from pets.
Oh, yeah, the pet comments were strong. One person said their cat gave them comfort that felt deeper than any therapist had.
Which, might be an exaggeration born of pain, but it speaks volumes about the real solace animals can offer, doesn't it?
It really does. So these examples show there's no single path. It's about finding avenues for connection that work for you. But the common thread, especially from people who successfully built networks after feeling isolated, it takes effort.
It absolutely takes effort.
You have to initiate contact. You have to show up consistently even when you don't feel like it. You have to be willing over time to be a bit open, a bit vulnerable, to let relationships actually deepen. It's a process, not just a one-off event.
And as you're building these connections, practicing asking for support, it's just as important to think about the flip side, being a supportive person yourself.
Right. Healthy relationships are reciprocal. Tending the garden involves contributing too.
Exactly. The source has had some really concrete tips for how to effectively give emotional support.
Like what?
Well, simple things like checking in with loved ones regularly, not just when there's obviously a crisis, but just as a normal part of maintaining the connection.
And using open-ended questions, right? Not just, how are you, which gets the automatic fine.
Exactly. Ask what's been on your mind lately, or how are you really doing with everything that's been going on? Something that invites more than a one-word answer.
And then when they do share, being truly present.
Paramount. Put the phone away. Turn off the TV. Make eye contact. Really listen. Giving someone your undivided attention is a huge act of support in itself. It says, I value you. I value what you're saying.
Providing empathy, not judgment. That's a big one. And it's a skill.
It is a skill. It's not about agreeing with their choices or even perfectly understanding the situation. It's about connecting on that feeling level. Saying things like, wow, that sounds incredibly frustrating, or I can really hear how much pain you're in right now.
It's validating their emotions, making them feel seen, heard, not trying to fix it or tell them why they shouldn't feel that way.
And a really key tip.
Yeah.
Ask how you can best support them. Don't just assume or jump in with unsolicited advice.
Because different people need different things.
Exactly. Someone might just need to vent and have you listen. Someone else might want help brainstorming solutions. Someone else might need practical help, like bringing over dinner. Asking what would be most helpful for you right now empowers them and make sure you're actually giving the type of support they need.
Avoid the urge to problem solve unless they ask you to. It's like figuring out their unique support language.
That's a great way to put it. And keeping your word, following through, that builds trust, which is the absolute bedrock of any supportive relationship.
If you say you'll help, help. If you say you'll call, call.
Simple, but crucial. And being thoughtful, remembering important dates or events in their lives, acknowledging their specific struggles, offering encouragement that relates to what they're going through, that shows you genuinely care, that you're invested.
And following up, right, not just a one-and-done conversation.
Especially in close relationships, yes. Check in again later. Hey, how are things going with that situation you told me about? It shows you care about them, not just the problem of the moment. Their ongoing journey. Really, all these tips for giving support, they're just fundamental, effective communication principles in action.
Clear messaging, being aware of body language, active listening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Active listening is so much more than just not talking.
Okay, so that's the giving side, how to be a good support person. Now, let's dive back deeper into the receiving side. Given the wall and all those barriers, how do we actually get better at asking for and receiving the support we need, the support we deserve?
It really does start with that internal work, as the sources emphasize. Making it a practice, maybe even daily, to just check in with yourself, pause for a moment. How am I feeling? What might I need right now?
Am I overwhelmed? Do I need practical help? Am I lonely? Do I need company? Confused? Need a sounding board?
Exactly. Identifying the need first. And then, crucially, actively working to push back against those internal barriers, the fear, the pride, the shame, the I'm a burden feeling, the low self-esteem telling you you're not worthy.
Which means consciously challenging those negative thought patterns we talked about earlier.
Yes. Reminding yourself of that research people are probably more willing to help than you think. Practicing that reframing. If my friend felt this way, I'd want to help them. It's okay for me to need help too.
It's an ongoing battle against those ingrained beliefs, isn't it?
It is, but it's a battle worth fighting. So once you've identified your need and you're working on those internal barriers, the next practical step is figuring out who in your network or what formal resource might be capable of giving you that specific type of support.
The bakery steak rule again?
Always. If you need someone to help you practice for a presentation, maybe ask the friend who's great at public speaking, not necessarily the friend who gives the best hugs, right?
Makes sense. And if you look around your network and feel like there isn't anyone for that specific need,
that's your cue. That's when you start exploring community groups, online resources, or those formal support systems we'll touch on more. The point is being intentional about matching the need with a potential resource.
Okay. And then finding your voice.
Yeah.
Using assertive communication.
Yes. This is where vagueness is your enemy. Just saying, oh, I'm not doing great, leaves the other person guessing how to respond. Beating around the bush makes it hard for them to know what you actually need from them.
Be clear. Be specific.
Exactly. The sources had such good examples of assertive, specific requests. Instead of just a vague cry for help, try something like, I'm going through a really tough time emotionally right now, and honestly, it would mean a lot if you could just check in with me once a day, even just a quick text.
Okay, that's clear. Or, I'm feeling totally overwhelmed by work and I just need to vent for like 15 minutes. Do you have the headspace later today to just listen without trying to fix it?
Perfect. Or practical ones. I'm feeling really down today and could honestly just use a hug. Or, I am drowning in laundry. Would you possibly have an hour this week to come over and help me fold?
Or even, I'm really struggling to cook healthy meals right now. It would be amazing if you happen to make an extra portion of dinner sometime this week.
See? Crystal clear. They define the request, the scope, and make it easy for the other person to say yes or no based on their actual capacity, without any guesswork.
And then when you do receive support, no matter how small, gratitude.
Sincere gratitude is vital, and not just a quick thanks. Explain what they did that was helpful and why it made a difference.
Like, thank you so much for helping with that laundry mountain. It took such a huge weight off my shoulders and actually let me rest for a bit.
Or, thanks for just listening earlier. Being able to talk it all out made me feel less alone and actually helped me see things a bit more clearly. That specific gratitude, it fills their cup, right? It validates their effort, makes them feel good about helping, and encourages future support.
Makes them more likely to say yes next time, maybe.
Exactly. And finally, think about how you can reciprocate down the line. Healthy, supportive relationships that last. They're mutual. They're reciprocal. It feels good to be there for someone who's been there for you.
It strengthens the bond, creates that virtuous cycle of giving and receiving.
Beautifully put. The sources frame asking for and receiving support not as weakness, but as a life practice, something that needs to be cultivated, tended to consciously, daily or weekly. It's a skill. Like any other skill, it gets easier the more you practice it.
It really is a muscle you build. The more you practice noticing your needs, challenging those internal blocks, finding the right person or resource, making specific asks, the more natural and less terrifying it starts to feel.
Now, while personal relationships and community connections are absolutely fundamental, we have to acknowledge that sometimes the challenges we face really do require formal support systems.
Definitely. Especially for complex mental health stuff or crises or just when your informal network isn't enough or isn't available.
And this is where community mental health services come in. They provide a really vital layer of support. These are often comprehensive systems run by state or local government or affiliated nonprofits designed to offer accessible mental health care and support outside of, say, an inpatient hospital.
And these aren't small operations, are they? The data showed the reach is huge.
It's massive. Millions of people get services in community settings every year through state mental health agencies. Like in 2020, it was over 7.8 million individuals. That's the vast majority, like 97% of everyone served by those state agencies. It really shows that community-based care is the main way state-funded mental health support is delivered.
And these services come through different places, right? Like community mental health centers, CMHCs.
Right, those are often integrated centers offering a wide range of services under one roof. But there are also outpatient clinics, dedicated crisis programs, various support groups, residential programs for more intensive support, and even peer-operated services, which are run by people with lived experience of mental health challenges themselves.
And the services offered are pretty broad, too.
Oh, yeah. Things like crisis services sometimes, including mobile crisis teams who can come to you in an emergency. Intensive outpatient programs, which are more structured than weekly therapy, but less intense than being in hospital. Standard outpatient therapy and testing. Case management, which helps you navigate all the resources. Supported employment programs. And integrated treatment for people dealing with both mental health and substance use issues at the same time.
And understanding the funding is key for access, too. You mentioned Medicaid being a big driver.
Huge. Medicaid funds a very significant chunk, around 62% of these community-based services. State general funds are the next biggest source. It just highlights how critical things like healthcare policy and insurance coverage are for people being able to access mental health support.
And interestingly, you noted that in some states, these community programs actually act as gatekeepers for state psychiatric hospitals.
Yeah, in some places like Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas were mentioned in the outline examples. The community mental health programs are the first stop for assessment for many people in crisis. They can often divert people to less intensive care within the community if it's appropriate, which can prevent unnecessary or lengthy hospital stays.
So all of this really reinforces the point. Seeking help from a licensed therapist, a counselor, a psychiatrist, or a formal support group. It's not failing. It's not a last resort.
Not at all.
It's a valid, often necessary, and frequently incredibly effective part of building a truly comprehensive support system, especially when challenges are complex or persistent, or your informal network just can't meet all your needs. It's a resource that's there for you.
And going back one last time to that online discussion we explored, it really hammered home the stark reality of coping when you genuinely feel you have no one. The experiences shared there just painted such a vivid picture of isolation and that desperate search for ways to simply survive day to day.
Yeah, that thread was just full of people describing how they cope when they feel totally alone. Things like just throwing themselves into distractions, anything to avoid thinking, cultivating this fierce self-reliance because they had to, focusing intensely on practical stuff like saving money.
Finding solace in pets, you mentioned that, doubling down on self-care like exercise or trying to eat well, or just gritting their teeth, forcing themselves to push through another day no matter how much it hurt.
And sadly, some mention turning to less healthy strategies too, like drinking too much or using drugs just to numb that pain of being alone.
It's clear humans are incredibly resourceful at finding ways to survive tough times. But what also came through so powerfully in that forum, even from the people who prided themselves on their independence, on coping alone, was this deep, profound longing for connection.
For community.
Yeah. They described how exhausting it is to constantly have to be the strong one, that ache of loneliness, that quiet wish for just a close friend, or the comfort of a chosen family. It just reinforces the central message from everything we've looked at, doesn't it? While those temporary coping strategies might get you through an acute crisis, long-term well-being, resilience, the ability to actually thrive, it's significantly enhanced, maybe even made possible by genuine human connection and reliable support.
It's not a weakness to want other people, to need other people. It's just fundamentally human.
It's absolutely okay to rely on your own inner strength when you need to. But it's also absolutely okay and healthy and often really necessary to seek out and welcome support from others, friends, family, community professionals, whoever they might be.
So let's try and bring this all together then. We've seen the need for support is pretty much universal, right? And that need is amplified by the stresses of modern life. We've looked at those powerful, often invisible barriers, the fears, the shame, the beliefs that make asking for help feel so incredibly hard. But we've also seen the evidence suggesting people are often way more willing to help than we give them credit for.
Right. And we've delved into the huge positive impact of social connection, backed by solid research showing how vital it is for both psychological and physical health. Not just feelings, but actual health outcomes.
We talk about practical ways to actively cultivate your support network, thinking of it like that garden that needs ongoing attention. Assessment, planting, nurturing, and sometimes weeding.
We highlighted how important it is to know what type of support you need and then ask capable people specifically for that support, whether it's within your personal circle or looking towards formal systems.
And we explored those two essential sides of the coin. How to be a truly supportive presence for others, and how to find your own voice to practice asking for and graciously receiving the support you need, pushing back against those internal hurdles as you go.
And the key lesson, woven through all the sources, the data, the personal stories, it's crystal clear. You do not have to face stress, tough times, overwhelming challenges, or even just the everyday ups and downs alone.
It takes acknowledging your vulnerability, sure, caring enough about yourself to see your need, and then taking that often really courageous step to seek and welcome the support you deserve, whatever form it takes.
Friend, community group, chosen family, therapist, often a combination.
Exactly.
So maybe here's a final thought for you to ponder as you move forward from this deep dive. Think about not just finding support when you're already in crisis or totally overwhelmed, but actively engaging in the practice of both giving and receiving support regularly as a habit.
Okay.
How can you weave that conscious cultivation of connection, that tending of your support garden, into the rhythm of your daily or weekly life? Can you start seeing it not as an optional extra, but as a vital, ongoing part of your overall well-being? Just as important as sleep or food or exercise, what's one small step you can maybe take this week?
That's a powerful reframing, turning support from just crisis intervention into a consistent life practice. That journey from coping alone to finding connection, it's not only possible, it's fundamental to a well-lived life. And it really does often begin with just that one small, courageous step, reaching out or opening yourself up.
It truly does.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.